you can pull that
Okay.
closer if you want. By then we had spent a month in semester break traveling all around Europe.
Right.
So.
Where did you go?
Oh, I went everywhere.
And how did you go? Did you hitchhike? Or
we hitchhiked. I had a Eurail pass. We went on the train. Hitchhiking, I didn't feel was that big a deal.
Yeah.
There's only one time I felt even slightly threatened. It was close to there. That wasn't that. But
Any graph I'll be interested in. I think the other one was. It'd be great to know what this says.
First of all, it's hard to see what the letters are.
Yeah.
I'm brushing up on some German, which is really good for me to do. If you want to go through this, I mean, there's tons of stuff. Do you want to start politically? Do you want
to? If you don't mind me asking a few more questions.
Go ahead.
Before,
go ahead.
I guess so. When you traveled, did you have any? Did you have any travel books, or was it just kind of upping and going? And
we just went. Went.
What were some of the standout places?
Prague.
Yeah.
It was. I think in February of 1969, so it was right after the Russian invasion.
Right.
There were Russian soldiers with machine guns on all the corners.
Right.
We would walk along. I went with one other woman, and people would start walking up beside us, and just very quietly, "Do you have any American dollars you want to sell?" But they had to be really careful because it's totally, totally illegal.
Really?
And, yeah. So they just, walk beside us for a while and then move on. And we happened to go during a European holiday that we didn't realize ahead of time we should have made reservations for, and there was not a place in town anywhere for us to stay.
Right. And
just walking around town, these Czechoslovakian students just would do the same, just start walking beside us. "Do you need a place to stay?" And they snuck us into their dorms and kept us there for as long as we were in town. Amazing. Which was horrible for them if they were caught, and would have been bad for us too. And with our dollars, we could buy anything. Yeah. We ate beautiful meals and went to gorgeous places, and it was fascinating to see those soldiers there and that idea of the big machine guns right there on the corner.
Yeah.
Everywhere you went, you just walk by them, not look at them, and pretend like they didn't exist. And it was fascinating. In Spain, I was blonde and blue-eyed. So lots of people, lots of guys to walk along beside you and recite poetry to you as they're walking along. You have to be really careful.
Yeah.
Greece was amazing. I went with a friend who ended up having diarrhea because, traveling, you pick up lots of bugs. Yeah. And in Greece, women did not use the bathroom in the public areas at all.
Oh.
And we looked and looked and looked for a place for her, and we finally went down underneath this building to a place where these men were meeting. And we had to ask for a restroom, and they let us use the bathroom, let her use the bathroom.
Yeah.
But it was a definite cultural difference where women were not supposed to do that. Women were not supposed to be doing any of that stuff. And public restrooms in general were not the same as here. I mean, they were not everywhere you turned.
Yeah.
And there's still some in England where you have to pay your little tip. But this was like you paid, they cleaned the seat for you, they closed the door for you, and the works. And thinking some other places. Went to, we went all over, but in Denmark, I remember getting lost. And so we had to ask for directions. Asked a tiny little 4-year-old boy. Told us in perfect English how to get where we needed to go. And that kind of stuff was amazing. Here we are. Took us forever to learn one language, and here's this little 4-year-old could speak to us easily. That's just... we went tons of places. Yeah. Tons and tons of places. Went skiing. I learned to ski in the Alps.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah. I don't ski over here, but I did there. Oktoberfest in Munich.
Yeah, what was that like?
Crazy. It was a
From
bunch of drunks.
Yeah. All the German beer is... Can't say.
Well, I learned to drink beer in Germany. In our little student village, each little dorm got their own beer delivery.
Amazing.
And we had these cases of beer. I mean, literally stacked high cases, wooden cases of beer at the end of the hall. We had this little piece of paper over the pile of cases. And anytime you took a bottle, you just put your little mark there by your name, and you paid your bill at the end of the month. And, I don't know where that came from. But
I love it. I'm curious, after being in East Berlin and being in Prague and seeing the symbols of communist or socialist governments and seeing the army in the streets, did that change any views you had about America, or?
There were times when we were ashamed to be American.
Right.
There are lots of times when we tried not to be American.
Yeah.
And as our German got good enough, we were never Americans.
Yeah.
We would be Germans wherever we could rather than be Americans. And so we were kind of ashamed of being Americans, but at the same time, home is home. I don't know if... It was just another thing that we saw, another sight that was fascinating.
Yeah.
I don't think I thought... maybe we thought we were lucky because we were.
Yeah.
But I just think about seeing the differences and seeing the way things were rather than making those comparisons as much.
Yeah.
Because there were, differences everywhere. And that was one of the things that I, to this day, I really, really appreciate is wherever you go, seeing those differences.
Yeah.
Not to compare and say one's better than another, but just that I think that's probably the biggest thing I took home with me is that there are differences and they're all equal and good and everyone should see them and know that the world is made up of those kinds of things. And that was probably the biggest thing that it did for me.
Yeah.
Not that one is better than the other, but that there are different ways and should be allowed to coexist.
Yeah, absolutely.
It was a big deal.
Yeah. Do you think and this is just my curiosity, if the trip to East Berlin, do you think that was to sort of get the students to appreciate Westernism, or? I
guess it must have been.
Okay.
Just like a little fight against communism, I guess.
Yeah.
I guess. It was a lot of money they spent to do that, so they must have thought it was worth it. They paid our hotel bills for 3 days and all our transportation. And, they didn't really lecture us. It's just like we saw the other side and saw how it was. And it was dreary and not nice. So maybe they were just trying to make their point of how much better off we were.
Yeah, possibly.
Yeah. We just took advantage because we took advantage of everything we could.
Yeah. Yeah. And in seeing sort of the post-war destruction, was World War II something people were talking about in Germany, or was it?
Well, we went to all the Jewish museums and monuments, and yes, we definitely knew about. Now, Göttingen, luckily, was not bombed, so all the buildings we saw there were old buildings that had not been destroyed. But then going to a place like Berlin and seeing the horrible devastation. Yeah. That showed us what had happened because of